Hello, thank you for joining me once again on Shingeki Day. This one should be the first one back from a bit of a break. But before I get in there, if you're interested in early access to the next episode right now, or perhaps even full length to this episode, consider checking out the Patreon page. Once again, it's only an option for anyone who's interested in content beyond the scheduled content. If you are interested, check out the pinned comment. Check out the different listings there, and perhaps just even check out the different plans for anime for 2021 and beyond. There's actually going to be a couple of new series on my channel. One of them is an anime, one of them is a gaming series. Of course, the anime itself is the replacement for the Friday slot, Vinland Saga, so I'm quite excited for that. I mean, the first time I heard about, the concept, an anime about Vikings, I was on board instantly, but, now I have the chance. It won a poll some time ago, so yeah, it's essentially the replacement for Shingeki, or the Friday slot. So yeah, that's coming up. And yeah, that's going to follow episode 16 once that is on YouTube. So yeah, that's about it for some of the updates. So thank you for joining me. Let's get into the episode. This is it. This is it. Whoa, whoa. Yeah. No one's manipulating him.
ゲレナと密会した後の行動もエレンの自由意志なの。
そうだ。
いいえ、あなたは操られている。
なあ、ミカさ。
あなたは敵国とはいえ、関係のない人々を巻き込むような人じゃない。そして誰よりも私たちを思い大切にしてきたマフラーを巻いてくれたのはあなたが優しいからでしょ。
手はテーブルの上に置けと言っただろう。
There's no strings on me.
俺はレベリオでジークと話をした。兄弟水入らずだな。ジークは巨人についてマーレが知っている以上の知識を手にしている。お前はまだ兄のところに通っている。それは本当にお前の意志か。
何を？
記憶が人を形成するのなら、お前の一部はベルトルトになってしまったんだ。
Then the same goes for all time shifters then, right?
恋心を抱く敵国兵にな。ある意味、お前の脳はベルトルトにやられちまった。敵に操られているのはお前の方だろう。アッカーマン一族はエルディアの王を守る意図で設計された。
Intentionally designed.
あの時お前は死に直面する極限状態の中で俺の命令を聞いた。戦えと。
Tatakai, episode 6. Right. So they showed that a few episodes ago.
お前の本能が目を覚ましたんだろう。偶然俺を護衛すべき宿主だと錯覚したことでな。
あなただから、エレンだから、私は強くなれた。それはあなただから。
力に目覚めたアッカーマンは突発性の頭痛を起こすことがよくある。
Yeah, she gets headaches, but that's attached to trauma though.
宿主の護衛を強いられることに抵抗を覚えることで生じるらしいが、心当たりは本来の自分を失い、ただ命令に従うためだけに作られた一族。つまりは奴隷だ。
やめろ、エレン。
俺がこの世で一番嫌いなものがわかるか。不自由なやつだよ。もしくは勝ちだ。
Episode 1 of the series.
そいつを見ただけでムカムカしてしょうがなかった。その理由がやっと分かったよ。何の疑問も抱かず、ただ命令に従うだけの奴隷が見るに耐えなかった。俺はガキの頃からずっとミカサ、お前が大嫌いだった。
I don't buy it. Oh, look at that. He jumped right in. Instinct.
お前はただそれだけだ。
Oh man. It's rough, but yeah, this is he's swinging. Still swinging though. Just like Berto. As Annie beat the shit out of Reiner in episode 3.
やめて。それで結局何が言いたかったんだよ。
ミカサを傷つけることが君の求めた自由か。どっちだよ。クソ野郎に屈した奴隷は。
誰が奴隷だ。行くぞ。
Everyone's a slave to something.
始まりの地。志願しな。
Shigan Shina. And Aaron might be Oh, beautiful. Look at that.
ところで、ワインはもう残ってないのか。一月もここにいるんだぞ。
Oh, not a single drop left.
まったく。エルビン、あの日の誓いをようやく果たせそうだ。
There might be a
お前たち
roadblock.
の死には意味があった。それをようやく証明できる。
Oh. He's just running. It's gonna happen, isn't it? Beast Titan theme? He knows. Oh my god. Oh, that look on Heicho's face though?
なんだ今の。一瞬体がしびれて。
Oh, they felt it.
私は何とも。
Oh, that's confirmation. Pixis. Nile. He's Titan theme, man.
体中に電気が流れ。
And Falco.
まさか。
お別れだ、兵長。部下思いがあんたのことだ。多少大きくなったぐらいで何にも悪くない部下を切り殺したりなんかしないよな。
Oh my god. I've been dreading this for some time now, since episode 10.
これは憲兵の連中しか飲めなかったマーレさんの貴重なやつなんですよ。
Oh man.
少しくらい楽しみがないと。紅茶があるだ
That guy.
兵長。めんどくせえな。いいだろう。
T.
持っていけ。体が硬直する予兆はなかった。嘘だってから。
It wasn't the fluid that makes him seize up.
はい。動きが普通じゃねえ。これもジークの仕業か。
He doesn't even have the blades out, he's just trying to dodge them. Now he has to hack. Perfect game.
バリス。まだそこにいるのか。お前ら。
Oh, there it is. He knows it has to be done. The curse of being Heicho.
自分たちには力がある。時間があ
Eyes are
る。
closed
選択肢
with
があ
that
る。
Titan.
そう勘違いしてしまったことがリヴァイ、あんたの過ちだ。
You made a mistake too, though, Zeke.
まあ、
A
俺
miscalculation.
の真意を話したところで分かりっこないだろうがな。なあ、エレン。俺たちにしか分からないよな。しかし、ちゃんと場所と時間を覚えているんだろうな、エレン。
Ah. It's the same music from the. I feel bad for him, man. He's like, God damn it, not again. Savagery, right? He's got the crystal already. Oh.
お前の可愛い部下たちはどうした？まさか殺したのか？かわいそうに。
必死だな、ひげ面野郎。
He's gonna get sliced up again.
読書する以外なかったのに。なんで勘違いしちまったんだ。俺から逃げられるって。部下を巨人にしてからって。俺が仲間を殺せないと思ったのか。
That's a miscalculation there.
どれだけ仲間を殺してきたか知らねえだろうに。
He carries a lot of emotional burden, doesn't he? Right, the Thunder Spears. Oh. Two and 0. 2 and 0. Oh.
てめえ、くせえし汚えし、ブサイクじゃねえか。 まあ殺しゃしねえから安心しろよ。すぐにはな。
Oh? One of the Titans? It's still alive. Let's put a pin in that.
巨人襲撃時の志願しなく防衛訓練を行う。
Oh, look at that.
もう巨人なんて襲ってこねえだろ。敵は壁外の人間なんだぞ。
Back in season 1, it was the opposite.
訓練してエルディア軍を作らなきゃいけないって。時代はとっくに変わったってのに。もう古いんだよ。シャーディ
In
ス
the
教官は。
past, huh?
エルディアに希望があるとしたら、イエーガー派が国の実権を握ることだ。
Look at this. Look at this.
でも聞こえるぞ。非常な決断も下せるような強い指導者に。
I mean, Flock would like this guy for sure. Speak of the devil.
お久しぶりです、教官殿。突然ですが、この兵団支部は我々が占拠しました。
Ooh.
イエーガー
Hostile
派と
takeover.
か言われている我々が、これより我々の
Oh no,
指
is
示
he
に
gonna
従
die?
い動いてもらいます。このまま時代遅れの兵団に従属していては、なすすべもなく、外の世界の敵に蹂躙されるのみだ。今君たちに問う。君たちは何者だ。
Look at
我ら
Flock.
エルディアの指導者エレン・イエーガーと共に生きる者か、それともここにいるキース・シャーディスと共に古い慣習と心中する者か。よし、君たちの覚悟を見せてもらおう。シャーディス教官を足腰立たなくなるまで痛めつけろ。
Flock's changed.
これこそが我々が淘汰すべき悪習そのものだ。
This isn't necessary. This isn't necessary, Flock.
それができない者は牢屋に入ってもらう。
いい加減にしろ、フロック。
ひよっこどもが何人かかってきたところで相手にならん。
He knew. He knew.
よくやった。君たち全員を
That's
歓
like a
迎
gang
しよう。
initiation, essentially. Oh, look at this. Armin can't transform in the... Oh! That's from season 3 finale, isn't it? But he was in the other uniform. Oh my god.
おい、待て。動くんじゃない。ダイソーの新刊をつなぐワイヤーをお前の首にくくってやる。
Oh my god.
下手に動いたらお前は腹から爆発して同情なんかしねえが。お前は俺の部下の命を踏みにじった。
He's lost so many.
てめえがゲロクソまみれで泣き
But
わ
he
め
has
く
to
の
go
も
on.
うるせえな。こうやって切っておかねえとてめえが巨人になっちまうだろうが。
God. The screams, man. They're so... Glasses.
ああ、知るかよ。
いいぞ、ジーク。いい球を投げるようになったな。
Armband? He's got his armband too?
将来は野球選手になるか。
ダメだよ。草葉さん。
Cassava?
僕には使命があるから。
Candidate days. So that was the man from that day, wasn't it? It was Zeke pointing at his parents. You had his grandparents behind him, and then this man I brought up in the discussion for that day. That's him. And that was a red armband. Zeke had the yellow one as clearly a candidate. But that man... Oh my god, I'm finally about to get it. The backstory. Right then, episode 14. Damn, man, that was a damn good episode. A fantastic episode. I mean, top to bottom, a lot of satisfying payoff, right? You know, scenes and moments that are integral for the trajectory of the story, right? As it plays out to its conclusion. Some substantial and definitive moments throughout this episode. But the moment at the end there, the scene at the end stole the episode. That scene just... I mean, you saw it. It just... Yes, incredible episode, but, you know, that moment at the end, oh my god. You know, that is so incredibly exciting. it's finally going there. And the fact that it's being shown near the conclusion of this season, or at least this half of the season, there's only 2 episodes left, right? This makes it that much more exciting, right? And it certainly makes it clear that this could be a crucial part of the story from this point on. Or it could have a major effect on the story. I mean, you guys already know how much I enjoy a backstory or flashback episode, right? And the backstory episodes are some of the absolute best episodes of this series, right? If you go through all the episodes, you go through all the different seasons, I firmly believe that some of the backstory episodes are some of the best. You think of That Day, you think of season 2, episode 10, The Children, right? You think of episodes like season 3, episode 10 and 11, right? Friends and Bystander. I think these stand out as some of the best episodes of the series. And even from this season, episode 3, Reiner's backstory episode, that was one of my favorites of the season. I know it's been brought to my attention that they ended up cutting a few things from that episode, and I am really excited to get to the stuff that was cut. I have 2 episodes to go, and once those are done, I'm certainly going to jump to the stuff that was cut from that Reiner backstory episode. So yeah, even that episode, I liked it quite a bit. And I bet Isayama-san really enjoys writing these backstory episodes. He's certainly quite effective with those episodes, right? He always presents them just at the right moment. He sets them up at the right moment, right? But the crazy thing is that even that short scene at the end communicates quite a bit. There's already some substantial info that can be extracted from it, right? Quite a bit that can be inferred from it. It's crazy. That scene, I'm telling you, man, it just stole the show. It stole the episode for me because of its implications. You see that even in his current state, he's absolutely brutalized. He's experiencing immense pain. He thinks of the glasses, right? And he asked Heicho for them. I mean, it's quite clear that the glasses mean quite a bit to him, right? They mean so much to him. Sentimental attachment, perhaps. They appear to be this man's glasses. Cassava. And the glasses are kind of unmissable in that face reveal, right? That's the whole point. He's got the glove in front of his face. He removes it. The first thing you notice, the glasses. But beyond just the glasses, you also notice, or at least I noticed, that this is the man from That Day, right? Leaning beside Zeke. He was there for support, right? He was crying. And I think he might be the same person Faye and Grisha ran into, right? In episode 19, in that post-credit scene. So this man has known that family for a long time. Even in that frame from That Day, he was noticeable. He caught my eye, and I spoke of this mystery individual in the post-episode discussion. Because, that's a crucial moment. That was a big moment in Zeke's life. And, the people that are there with him certainly have to be important, right? You see his grandparents on one side, and then you see this man, Cassava, to his other side, and he's crying, right? He's quite emotional about the situation. And like I mentioned in the discussion for that episode, one of the possibilities, it does appear that he's clearly a mentor-type figure to Zeke. I mean, that flashback was more so a father-son bonding type experience, right? This is the memory, or this is the moment he's kind of thinking back to in this state he's in at the moment. I felt that it certainly had that tone, right? Because, this sort of activity is usually attached to father-son bonding moments, right? But it's this man and not Grisha. And I think that alone speaks volumes about the relationship Zeke and Grisha had, right? Or the lack thereof, essentially. That's that was one of the major points that came out of that episode, right? That Grisha failed as a father. That was clear to see, even in that episode, That Day. And, he had a second chance in Paradis with Eren. And, he learned from his mistakes and he took a different approach. And, he regretted how he treated Zeke, or how he handled Zeke. Though, of course, there's also a chance that this could be after Zeke has outed his father and mother, right? Dinah and Grisha. So let's see how it plays out. I mean, they certainly hinted at the backstory potentially being in the next episode. If I'm going to go ahead and assume it's probably in the next episode, because, episode 16, I'm sure that's going to have to cover something else, as the final episode of this part. It's going to have to set up the second half. So I feel like, yeah, the next episode might be Zeke Yeager, the backstory. But, clearly this is how Zeke's interest in baseball came about or started, through this man. He just seemed like such a wholesome, nice man, right? But of course, this is Shingeki, right? Everyone has their demons. Everyone has their struggles. So, he might seem wholesome and caring, and I believe he is, but I still know next to nothing about him, right? Other than the fact that he's clearly some sort of mentor. Now, the really fascinating new piece of information is that this man, Kasawa, had the red armband. And I did go back once again just to confirm. Yeah, it's a red armband. The shade. You could see that it's a red armband, and you could see that Zeke has the yellow armband on, and Zeke had the outfit on, right? So it was during his candidate days for sure. So then the question becomes: was Zeke the successor to this man? Did he take over as the Beast Titan? Right? I believe that might be the case here. It reminded me of Zeke and Colt from earlier in the season. Colt was essentially shadowing Zeke, accompanying him, learning from him, right? As a selected successor to the Beast Titan, But of course, things have changed drastically since then. But, you could see that Colt is kind of shadowing Zeke and, trying to learn from Zeke. That's the feeling I was getting in this scene as well. Now, going back to Kasawa, in season 3, episode 20, that day, he had a lab coat on, didn't he? And that led me to theorize that he might have been a teacher, right? A doctor, perhaps, an academic of some sort. And, that was one of the reasons I started to think that he might be a mentor type figure. And yeah, it appears that he is a mentor type figure. But now, in addition to that, I see that he was a warrior as well. Now that is quite interesting, isn't it? That's actually really interesting, that mix. Someone who appears to be an academic was also potentially the Beast Titan. And I think it's pretty safe to assume that he was probably the Beast Titan, given that Zeke has his glasses, right? As a symbolic transfer, sentimental attachment, carrying a reminder of this potential mentor figure. Clearly someone who's had quite the impact on young Zeke, right? And then there's a matter of this mission he spoke of, right? And he's, speaking of this as he's thinking back to that fond memory, right? Playing catch. Just how much of an impact did this man have on him? How much of a part did he play in Zeke's trajectory, right? Is this mission he spoke of a path this Kasawa set him on? I just believe that this potential of this person being an academic and also one of the 9 is quite fascinating, right? It's quite a fascinating proposition, that mix. And, Zeke believes that even if he explained himself to Heicho, to Levi, or explained his intentions, he would not be able to understand. Zeke believes that he wouldn't understand. And that only him and Eren understand. And in terms of bonding moments, and, baseball being symbolic of that bond, the passing of the ball to Eren is quite symbolic as well, isn't it? Earlier in the episode, Eren mentioned that he spoke with Zeke in Liberio, brother to brother. And it appears that Eren understood or understands Zeke's intentions, right? And is now actually looking to reunite with him, right? And put this into motion. And, on that front, it appears that they already had a spot picked out. Like, they clearly spoke of this. Zeke mentioned, oh, I hope you remember the spot, right? And the day or the moment that both of us are supposed to meet up there. Yet you have Eren running around or going around, with the Jaegerists, and he's asking for Zeke's location, right? So something is going on here. It appears that Eren and Zeke, they decided on something clearly. From the sounds of things. Yet you see that Eren heads to Shiganshina. He takes Armin and Mikasa and, Gabi and Hanji and the rest to Shiganshina. And, they show us at one point that they are in a jail cell, right? And of course, putting Armin in there means that there's no chance Armin can transform, right? There's people around him, and there's people around even outside, right? So Armin's not going to kill anyone just to transform. to get out of there, right? But you know, the precaution has been taken for sure. But yeah, Shiganshina. Yeah, let's see how this plays out. There has to be a reason Eren decided to go back to Shiganshina. Does he know something that, I mean, he knows he knows so much that the other characters of the show don't know, right? And even the audience doesn't know. So it is interesting to see that, you know, they're heading to Shiganshina. Now, you know, earlier in the season, or actually a few episodes ago, right? They mentioned that they evacuated Shiganshina once again, or in the process of doing it, right? Or to clear Shiganshina. I remember Fragel was asking Hanji-san about it, right? That he had a contract to essentially help rebuild Shiganshina, but you know, they need it for something else. It's been staged for something else. Perhaps, you know, a potential sampling of the rumbling, and just in case it picked out this spot if they go through with that plan. Yeah, but yeah, back to Shiganshina. Now this mission, you know, Zeke's intentions, it's something that he believes only Eren is able to understand or comprehend, right? Meaning it's potentially controversial, right? Certainly enough that he knows that others are not going to understand his intentions, even if he begins to explain himself or explain it. He certainly didn't think that Heicho is going to, you know, understand his intentions. So let's see how this plays out, right? At the end of the day, the thing to remember here is that Eren holds the founding titan, so he essentially makes the final call. And, you know, I have brought up the notion of trust, right? And how trust is hard to come by. You know, but you see through Zeke that he has trust in Eren. And he believes that Eren's the only other person who understands him or his intentions. So, yeah, I mean, Zeke certainly trusts Eren. From the sounds of things, it all depends, you know, it all depends. And I'm hopeful that this potential backstory goes into their conversation. And they, like I said, they kind of gave me a glimpse of it, right? And that was clearly at that facility Eren was at in Liberio. You know, I actually missed that portion of the season a lot. The Liberio portion, the Marley arc, the first half of the season. I really missed that a lot because, you know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. Yeah. It'll be nice to go back to that. But let's go back to the iconic Forest of the Giant Trees. It finally happened, right? Initially set up in episode 10. You know, that ending, that conclusion gave me quite a shock. It had me really scared, man. I was, you know, dreading episode 11, and it turned out that they didn't really go right into that. And it made sense, you know, it made sense. It did feel like something substantial, something big. And yeah, in the third last episode of the season, it finally happened, you know, and now was the time for Zeke to implement his strategy in the forest, the escape plan. And, you know, something as simple as just Zeke making a run for it, even that was terrifying because of the implications of that, right? Of the things that are about to happen, right? That he has put this into motion now. There's no turning back, right? He did his thing, right? He finally did his thing, and he initiated the transformations. It's a stunning scene, right? As the camera pans out from Zeke, and it goes into this incredible Spider-Cam-esque sequence of the transformations, right? Like I said, it's stunning imagery as, you know, these soldiers start falling out of, you know, the high tree branches and transform midair. So in the end, all 30 soldiers ended up turning, right? And essentially everyone else who has traces of Zeke's spinal fluid in their system felt the surge. And because of that, it gives us confirmation, right? You know, it's a bunch of red shirts, but then the confirmation on Nile, Pixis, and Falco, right? Those are not red shirts. It was reminiscent of the time Eren unlocked the Founder's abilities, right? In the season 2 finale. And all the shifters felt that surge, right? And actually, I bet even Zeke and Peak, I'm sure even they felt that surge, right? I mean, it's off screen, but, you know, I'm sure they felt it. Actually, even Lara Tiber might have felt that surge. I'm guessing a young Lara Tiber at that point. But yeah, she must have felt that surge, right? As the Warhammer Titan. And, you know, I love that exterior shot of the forest being lit up. It was reminiscent of Ymir's transformation. In the conclusion to episode 10 from season 2, right? You know, that ending from season 2, episode 10, it still remains to be one of the best endings to an episode, easily. You know, after that incredible flashback or backstory of Ymir, and then her talking with Reiner and Bertolt, you know, to then her transforming, then that incredible music kicks in, and, you know, the scouts are in pursuit of the armored titan. Incredible ending. Incredible episode, one of the best of the series. But I digress. Let's get back to this episode. And then there's a breathtaking shot as Heicho looks up and he sees, you know, mid-air Titan transformations, and it just lights up the sky, right? You know, it's a dark situation, you know, a terrible situation, but there is a beauty about that, right? That moment. Again, you know, Forest of the Giant Trees and Titan transformations, and, you know, the lightning and the light that emits during that transformation. It's like one of the iconic moments of the series at this point, right? Now, the plan was a good one, that's for sure. You know, a damn good plan to spike the drinks in that manner. And, you know, it's clever because he could just drink it as well. You know, it's just his own spinal fluid. It's not going to do anything to him, right? You know, so he just played along and he's having these drinks as well. He even asked Heicho for some more, right? And, you know, that was really clever to show us that, you know, the whole stock has been depleted, right? So they really, you know, got their share of it. And of course, you know, Zeke drinking it, you know, takes out the possibility of suspicion, because, you know, if Zeke declines that, you know, Heicho is going to get suspicious, right? So it's a clever move. But, you know, they also didn't confirm or deny if Heicho had any of it. It appears that he didn't. I mean, he certainly brought up tea, didn't he, in that quick flashback? So it appears that maybe he didn't really take any of it. So I still don't really have a definitive answer to that yet. You know, if the Aquaman are able to turn into Titans. Now, you know, there's a really interesting thing that kind of happened in this episode that builds on the Aquaman. You know, I'll get into that later. But yeah, you know, they're not like everyone else, are they? I mean, that's been clear since the beginning, right? But, you know, now you have a major character from the show who actually has quite a bit of knowledge from the past, right? He has a lot of resources within him, who is saying that they are not like others, right? More on that later. I'll get into that. You know, but Zeke's big miscalculation was that he presumed that Heicho would not harm any of his subordinates, and he would probably just end up being grabbed as he tried to dodge them, right, or escape. You can see that was his line of thought. That was his miscalculation, right? Now, Heicho certainly takes that approach as long as possible, right? Actually, he doesn't even think about harming them, right? He didn't even have his blades out. You see the concern and pain on his face as he looks up and he sees his comrades, right? Turning into Titans and, you know, dropping to the ground. You see that there is an internal struggle. And, you know, this isn't something new. You know, Heicho's had these kind of moments before. And, you know, later on, near the conclusion of the episode, he made sure to remind Zeke that he toyed with the lives of his comrades. You know, he used them, or he, you know, reduced them to tools. Goes back to that conversation they had in the last episode, right? Heicho telling him that he shows no signs of guilt, right? He doesn't have any shred of guilt. And it shows that those lives meant nothing to him, right? And, you know, then an episode later, he turns 30 soldiers into pure Titans yet again. So, you know, getting caught again by Heicho was going to become a bad situation for Zeke after doing that. You know, after Zeke knows Levi's thoughts on that, right? On the savagery of his actions in Ragako, right? And the lives he took back then. So, you know, to implement this plan, you know, he took a big risk. And he certainly felt that, you know, he had him. He felt that he had Heicho because the miscalculation being he thought Heicho is not going to kill his own subordinates, right? But yeah, so yeah, getting caught once again by Heicho, bad situation for Zeke. And that's exactly how it played out, didn't it? He was in Heicho's element, right? Great for ODM gear, the Forest of the Giant Trees. That's been established since season 1, right? And, you know, he took care of the Beast Titan quite quickly, once again. And you see how frustrated he was, you know? And he probably had, like, you know, flashbacks to that moment. The first time Heicho attacked him in the Return to Shiganshina battle. you see how annoyed he is. But, you know, he resorted to using the pure titans as projectiles, right? Absolute brutality and savagery on display, right? As he rips them apart and just uses them as projectiles. But, you know, brutality and savagery on display from both sides, from Zeke and Heicho. And, you know, that's kind of like the theme of this episode, the title of this episode. I mean, there's also a totally different type of savagery in this episode, you know, the linguistic kind. And more on that later, But, you know, Heicho bested the Beast Titan once again, and he rendered him useless in that cart, you know. Jammed a Thunder Spear in his abdomen, and if that wasn't painful enough, he slices Zeke's feet and legs, you know, to keep delaying the regeneration process. That was brutal. That was, oh my God. And the voice acting, that sold the hell out of that. That was tough to watch and listen to, right? You felt that this man is in excruciating pain, or is experiencing excruciating pain. You know, that was difficult to watch, and I did feel bad for Zeke in that moment. You know, I like Zeke, and he's become one of my favorites of the show at this point in time. But he was bound to be punished for his actions back in the forest, right? Once again, he toyed with their lives, and you know Heicho is not going to forgive that. Listen, man, at the end of the day, Isayama-san has shown us time and time again that everyone has their own struggles, that they have their own reasons for doing the things that they do, right? And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this imminent backstory for Zeke Yeager. Now, before I move on from this, they showed that one Titan survived, right? You know, you see as the camera, as Heicho drags Zeke, it pans to that Titan, right? And it's trying to crawl, right? The implication being that, you know, it survived, clearly. You know, they don't just show something like that and bring it to your attention without a reason. So let's put a pin in that, like I said, because that might play a part. You know, but I'm just not sure how, because it's just a pure Titan, right? But the fact that they brought attention to it surviving, I think it's going to come into play at some point. I mean, there's only 2 episodes left. Now, you know, I do have to discuss Heicho. One of my favorite characters of the story. He's such a well-crafted character, you know, a brooding alpha that is capable of amazing things, right? Of superhuman things, right? Once again, the Ackermen, they're quite different, and that's been clear since the beginning. Certainly for Heicho, it's been quite clear. You know, one of a kind, an outlier. Yet, like everyone else, he experiences trauma. Right, he certainly experiences trauma. The emotional burden Heicho carries is absolutely immense. You know, he's not some tough guy who's incapable of caring. He cares quite a bit, right? And that's been clear since the beginning of the series. Even in his earlier appearances in season 1, he values the lives of these comrades and peers quite a bit, right? You see once again in this episode that he was so torn about the situation. He looks at that one pure Titan, Varys, I believe. The one that was getting a lot of screen time in the last episode. Yeah, it made sense. It made sense, you know, they're humanizing those characters, gave them some screen time, and you see that he comes across him. And there's that moment, he thinks to himself, are you still in there, right? He certainly has that internal struggle, right? You know, goes back to his reaction from the season 2 finale to finding out that they've been killing humans this whole time. You see, he was so uncomfortable about that. But this is the curse of being Levi Heicho, right? Cursed to outlive all of his peers and the people he cares for. He has, you know, he's seen so many die. He's outlived so many. The last of his kind, right? You know, I've been saying that for some time now. The last of his kind. And, you know, he might lose even more as the story heads towards its conclusion. And, you know, they do show us just how much he has lost in that brilliant scene in the last episode, right? As all those moments are playing in the background as he's just, you know, fed up. He's got his head in his hands, and he's thinking back to all the sacrifices they've made, all the comrades that have died protecting Eren. And, you know, he's questioning, you know, what did I see in him? Now, you know, later on, I'll get into it a bit more, into more detail, but, you know, Eren brings up the idea of the Ackerman headaches. No, I don't think that was a headache, was it, in that last episode, that scene of Heicho? That was more so him just kind of having a moment, right? Just kind of thinking back to all the loss of life and the sacrifices made just to keep Eren alive as the hope, right? He certainly bought into it, right? He certainly felt that, yeah, you know, because the Commander Smith also felt that, you know, Eren is integral, or Eren's Titan shifting abilities are integral to any sort of fight back. So, you know, he bought into that idea that, yes, Eren is the hope. And, you know, for that reason, they were able to sacrifice, or, you know, go through with plans that sacrificed lives, or that could potentially have a lot of loss of life. And you see all of that is just, it's burden, you know, the burden. Like I mentioned, he carries a lot of emotional burden. You know, this kind of reminds me of another show I watch on the channel, Doctor Who. Now, again, I don't know how many from my Shingeki audience know about Doctor Who or watch the show, but, you know, there is a similarity to Heicho. There is the notion that the Doctor, who is essentially an alien, but he looks like a human, right? Doesn't age like humans, right? But he makes a lot of connections with humans. But because of his potential immortality or aging differently, he has to watch people he cares for grow old and move on or die. And he simply just has to move on, right? Simply just has to continue. And, you know, they referred to that in one episode as the curse of being the Doctor, right? And I think that's similar to Heicho because, you know, he is cursed essentially to outlive and lose so many that he cares for, right? And he carries a lot of trauma because of that. But he always has to move on, right? He has to keep moving on. And, you know, I think a lot of this story also shows us or depicts how different characters or different personalities and different people handle trauma. All right, let's move on, man. The table chat. It finally happened, the talk. Eren, Armin, and Mikasa. Though Gabby was present as well, just like how Falco was present during Eren and Reiner's conversation, right? In Liberio, in that basement, in that cellar. I mean, it remains to be seen if Gabby might take something from this experience, right? But at least she gets to see that this individual labeled the Devil of Paradis is a bit of an enigma, right? Even his own close friends are at odds with him. So she is going to see this. But yeah, man, that was tough. That was a tough watch. That was really rough. It was really sad to see it play out like that. And you know, the really sad part about this is, you know, this is the final season, man. And, you know, even getting to talk to Eren or getting to speak with Eren in this situation, even that was kind of by chance. It was a rare occasion. Though I think Eren might have known that this might be his only chance to actually, you know, sit down and speak. This individual, Eren Yeager, is on a path. And, you know, his actions during this chat are quite definitive, right? You see his angle. So yeah, you know, it's sad that this has the potential to be one of the last times they speak with each other. And just the notion of that is so sad to me. It all depends, you know, it all depends how it's going to play out from this point on and how the second half of this season is going to play out. But yeah, by the end of it, you see Mikasa is absolutely crushed. You know, she's heartbroken. But even then, she instinctively kind of defends Eren and stops Armin, right? Though also that could have been... That also could have been her trying to stop them from fighting, but you see that it was a really quick reaction, right? Again, instincts, right? So it was tough, you know, and I mentioned this in the last episode that there's a possibility that this could be really tough for Mikasa in particular, given her attachment to Eren. And for that reason, I feel like Eren had to be even more standoffish and, you know, really dig in, you know, relation to addressing Mikasa. And, you know, there's even a rare one-on-one fist fight. But, you know, the heartbreaking thing, once again, is that it's Armin and Eren. You know, how about that? At this point in the story, you know, that they're fighting each other and that they find themselves in a fist fight, and that Armin felt the need to get in a fist fight and, you know, to punch Eren, because that's how deep those words cut, right? That's how much of a devastating impact they had. You know, that Armin simply felt the need to defend Mikasa, you know, one of his best friends, one of their best friends, and have a go at Eren for the hateful things he was saying to her, you know. he simply had to step in. He felt the need to step in. And I think Eren probably knew this is coming, right? You see that he, even as Armin is telling him to stop, right? Eren keeps going on, and he could probably anticipate that this is going to happen as he continues. And, you know, yeah, it's clear that, of course, in a one-on-one fist fight, Armin was, he was picked apart quite easily, right? But at the end of the day, he stepped up for Mikasa, right? He defended Mikasa, one of his best friends, right? Family, essentially. But yeah, you know, I mentioned earlier, you know, there's a notion of savagery of the linguistic kind. Yeah, it was certainly present at this talk at the table, right? Words to control the subconscious. You know, he leaves them destabilized with these mind games, right? He certainly leaves Mikasa quite destabilized by the end of it. You know, there's a lot of gaslighting on Eren's end. And before I go any further, I don't believe for a second that he hates Mikasa. No chance. No chance in hell. You know, I'm not buying that. You just can't buy that. But it appears that he did take that route, separating himself from them, right? Distancing himself because he knows the path he has to continue on. You know, yeah, he said some hurtful things. He said some really terrible things to both of them. But I do feel like, yeah, this is him going down that path of being standoffish and, you know, really distancing himself and separating himself from them to protect them. At least that's how I feel about this, and I don't believe for a second that he hates Mikasa. No chance in hell. Remember in my episode 3 discussion, you know, I stated that Eren is in control of the situation and he knows the path he has to take. And, you know, that was just him sitting on a bench in Liberio at a facility, right, with Falco. You know, even then, it was so clear, right, that this man is on a path. And he knows that he has to continue on this path, and he's ready to see how it turns out. I feel like it was a calculated move on his end, and it was something he deemed necessary at this moment in time. You know, Armin even asked him, "Is that it? You know, is that all you came to say, that you wanted freedom just so you could hurt Mikasa?" Right? You see that Armin is confused about Eren's approach to this. He's trying to understand the reasoning behind his actions and the things he's saying here, the hurtful things he's saying here. To protect Mikasa, Armin, and everyone else, you must see this through. He most definitely cares for both of them, right? They're family. Of course he cares for them. You know, they've shown us that he deeply cares for Mikasa. You know, it takes me back to that season 2 finale once again. I think I've brought that up a few times now in this discussion. He told Mikasa that he'll wrap that scarf around her as many times as she wants, right? Over and over. And, you know, the whole reason he decided to fight back in that situation was because of Mikasa, you know, in order to protect Mikasa. And that's exactly how it played out. He protected Mikasa, right? And he got her out of there. He got her out of that situation. Again, it goes back to that notion back to that flashback, you know, of Carla, his mother asking him to, you know, look out for Mikasa, you know, that he has to protect her and look out for her as well. And, you know, even in this season, in that train, in the train cart, right, episode 10, I believe, he tells him that you guys are so important to me, more so than anyone else, right? Of course, you know, that includes people like Jean, Connie, and Sasha as well, but, you know, Eren and Armin are there. Sorry, Mikasa and Armin are there. And, you know, there's that beautiful moment as Mikasa and Eren kind of make eye contact. And, you know, some of the things he decides to tell Armin and Mikasa are quite interesting, right? Given that there's alternative takes on it. He tells Armin that he's the one being manipulated by the enemy, referring to Bertolt, right? But earlier in the season, they already showed us that Eren doesn't quite look at that situation in that manner anymore. You know, he told Reiner that he understands and doesn't blame them for the things they had to do, right? That they knew nothing. But it was drilled into them that everyone in the walls was the devil, right? He tells Reiner that at one point he saw everyone on that side of the sea as the enemy. But then he crossed the sea, right? And his perception changed. I'm the same as you, Reiner. So him holding on to that notion of calling Bertolt the enemy doesn't quite line up anymore, right? He's kind of moved on from that train of thought. And of course, you know, memories certainly play a part in shaping people, you know, and a part of Armin is Bertolt because of that. But I just don't think it's to the extent Eren is implying here, right? If that was the case, all of these time shifters would be drastically different, right? Being manipulated and, you know, really being taken over by the past time shifters. I mean, he's making it sound like it's similar to how King Fritz kind of lives on, or his ideology kind of lives on through the members of that royal family as they take on, the Titan from generation, or they used to at least. That's in the past now. But yeah, if he was saying that to someone from the Rice family, yeah, then it would make sense that, yeah, this King Fritz kind of affects you in that manner. You get manipulated by him or his ideology. And even Eren himself is shaped by the memories of the pastime shifters within him, right? They do have some subtle effects on him as well. And he told Armin that within him is an enemy. I mean, within Eren is Lara Tiber, right? An enemy. And then beyond that, there is Grisha, Kruger, Frida, Yuri, right? These past holders, he's got the most within him. And that would make him an absolute mess if any number of these got into his head, right? Like he's accusing Armin of that, Bertolt has gotten into your head. So imagine if, the past Titan shifters got into Eren's head. If it was just that easy for past Titan shifters to manipulate you or have an effect on you, right? Or get into your head, he'd be a mess. But again, Eren isn't just another normal Titan shifter. His situation, his case is a bit unique, right? Really unique, actually. But then again, what's to say that the Shingeki no Kyojin, the Attack Titan, isn't influencing Eren a bit? Always at the forefront, seeking freedom, right? That's what I believe. That's what Kruger said to Grisha. It's certainly possible that the Attack Titan, Shingeki no Kyojin, could be affecting him in some manner, right? That's a really unique Titan, right? That was the one that Marley couldn't get. So yeah, there is a possibility that the Attack Titan could have an influence on Eren, right? Or it could be affecting him. And then, of course, the Ackerman headache business. I mean, I've always felt that those sudden headaches have been linked to Mikasa's past trauma, right? Or her experiences, traumatic experiences. I mean, the first time she had it was in episode 2, right, of the series, after Carla's death. And, you see flashes of her parents, and I believe she said, "Not again." And then much more recently, she had one on the roof as she sees a near-dead Armin, holding on for life, absolutely burned to a crisp. And, a lot of these cases just don't fit the narrative Eren is presenting here, right? He's presenting it as something else, yet there's clear, it's clear to see that she experiences these headaches in other moments as well. And, he calls her a slave. That notion of her being just a slave and being bound by her blood, right? That everything she's ever done is kind of linked to her blood, or is driven by her blood. Yeah, there are moments that she calls Eren out. She tells him how it is. A slave doesn't do that, right? There's moments that she hits Eren, right? And that was really early on in the season. He was being quite hurtful to Armin, actually. And, she hit him. And then she kind of force-fed him as well. She said, "All right, you still have bread, finish it." She called him out just recently. Or, she told him how the situation is. She didn't sugarcoat it. She told him, you did things that led to a lot of innocent lives being lost, right? Including children. This was as she was reunited with him in Liberio. So yeah, like I said earlier, I feel like there was some mind games at play here, right? And I feel like he was also trying to challenge them a bit as well. But the most fascinating thing about this Ackerman segment was the bit about the Ackermans intentionally being created or designed to protect Eldia's king. Back in the first half of season 3, I think maybe episode 6, Kenny's grandpa tells him that their family was once the monarch's sword, right? So, that certainly checks out, that's for sure. But the intentionally designed bit is the fascinating part, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to design the perfect protection system or, bodyguards, then the Ackermen certainly have all the attributes for that. I mean, I used to say that both Heicho and Mikasa perform at superhuman levels, and they do, and that was clear to see from season 1, especially with Heicho. And remember, I used to say that it's as if it's part of their DNA, part of their build. Again, the fascinating part of this is the notion of them being designed. You know, that certainly makes it sound like, you know, these specimens are created, right, and designed specifically. And yeah, you know, the Ackermen, they've shown me in this story, Heicho, Mikasa, and Kenny, they certainly qualify as specimens, right? The outliers. So, you know, in that sense, I hope they give me more on this at some point, right? The origins of the Ackermen, and then, you know, this whole notion of them being intentionally designed, right? These specimens created to protect Eldia's kings. But, you know, all that being said, yeah, you know, Mikasa has had this obsessive nature, or this obsessive, you know, nature to protect Eren from an early age. And yeah, Eren presented it as Mikasa accidentally latching onto him, you know, as a host, right? Him being the host. So even though Eren is saying things that sound kind of off, right? Sound really off, actually. He's also saying things that are true, right? He is presenting some truth as well. And giving them this information and giving us, the audience, this new information, right? So once again, it potentially goes back to Pixis, right? Do you know how to tell a good lie? Sometimes you have to make some truth into it. So yeah, you know, it's a really interesting scene, and it's a heartbreaking one, that's for sure. And to end off this discussion, I have to discuss Flock. The fascinating case of Flock, the growth of Flock, the character arc of Flock. You know, I felt that he actually channeled a bit of Commander Smith during his rousing speech to these recruits, right? You know, the dawn of a new guard. That seemed to be a bit of a theme here, right? You know, Keith Shadis is presented as this individual who's kind of living in the past. And, you know, you see that even some of the recruits believe this, right? Even before Flock shows up on the scene. You know, Flock certainly has an immense dedication to his cause, right? He has absolute devotion to this cause and to Eren Yeager, because he believes Eren Yeager is the devil they need, right, for the future of this Eldian Empire, new Eldian Empire. And he is rock solid in his ideals and gets the message across in a concise manner. You know, he doesn't sugarcoat anything. You know, he doesn't cover up anything. He's essentially doing the things he wanted people to do in his cadet days, in his recruit days, right? This is how he wanted the people in positions of power to be, right? To be up front, right? You guys better start telling the truth when you go to enlist more recruits, right? He said that at in the final episode of season 3, right? In the season 3 finale. You know, so that's the type of approach he's taking. He's being upfront. He doesn't want to sugarcoat anything. But that being said, he is on a slippery slope, right? He is on a slippery slope because it's becoming clear now that he is on a bit of a power trip, isn't he? You know, that incident with Shadis was completely unnecessary, right? It was savagery and it was abuse of power, right? You know, intimidation and violence is becoming a common practice in his attitude, right? In how he handles some of these situations. You know, what he did to Shadis, Commander Smith would never think of doing something like that. It is clear to see how he's changing now, being in this position, right? He finds himself in quite a position, and it's changed him. You know, I don't think any of us can deny that. And, you know, you see that Keith Shadis, he essentially protected those recruits, didn't he, by saying that, right? So they do attack him. Because, you know, again, Flock said, if you don't do this, you know, and I kind of associated that with a gang initiation almost, right? If you don't do this, you're going to be tossed in a prison cell. I mean, the one thing that is quite clear is that this is a really good character arc, really good. And, you know, it's so interesting to see how he's developed into the man he is now, into the person he is now, right? So yeah, you know, let's see how this continues to play out. Right then, I think that's about it. I think that's about it for this episode. Once again, incredible episode. Really good episode. And, you know, I do feel like that final scene kind of stole the show, you know. Really stole the episode for me. Because, again, you know, I've been looking forward to a potential Zeke Yeager backstory. One of the only remaining backstories left. And, you know, I like him quite a bit. He's become one of my favorites, so this is an exciting prospect. Alright folks, that's it for episode 14 of Shingeki Season 4. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you really do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. That really does help the channel, you know, grow further and get noticed more, and help other Shingeki fans find this content. If you're interested in early access or perhaps even full length for this episode, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment, and perhaps even just check out the different listings for the plans on the channel for 2021 and beyond. And also, if you're interested in social media, Twitter is the one I'm most active on at the moment. You know, check out the links for that as well. Right then, that's about it for this one. Thank you for joining me once again. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again soon. So until then, take it easy.